We often hear the phrase draining the swamp, but what does it mean to drain a political swamp? When you're talking about a real swamp, we kind of know what draining a swamp means. You bring in all these engines, you pump the water out, you clear the swamp, you dry it out, you plant trees, and basically you now have a pasture or you have something where a swamp used to be. But draining a federal swamp, the swamp of Washington, D.C., is a whole different matter. I want to emphasize that draining the swamp is often a case of undoing the power of the career bureaucracy. These are people who are not elected, who are appointed, but it is their full-time job, and many of them have, in effect, tenure, kind of like professors. Why? Because they can never really be fired, or they can't be fired except in extreme circumstances. Now, there are three cases that are before the Supreme Court now that deal with draining the swamp, and they deal with the power of federal agencies. We're now talking about these unelected agencies like the FCC, the Federal Communication Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission. There is the National Marine Fisheries Service. There's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. These are all sort of alphabet agencies, normally known by acronyms, but they all have a lot of power. Why do they have power? Because Congress will make vague laws like you're supposed to regulate finance, or you're regulating banks, or you're regulating fishing, but Congress doesn't tell you what to do. And so these agencies go, wow, basically we have tyrannical control over this industry. We can do whatever we want. And that's the question really the Supreme Court is considering. Are there clear and defined limits to what these agencies can do? Agencies, after all, think about the name. If you are a federal agency, you are an agent, and an agent means you're acting on behalf of someone else. Who's the someone else? Well, broadly speaking, it's the executive branch. But who's the executive branch acting on behalf of? The answer is the legislature. So the legislature passes laws with typically an intention, a defined purpose, and yet the agency then goes like a runaway train and interprets or does whatever it wants, always appealing to some vague provision in the law. So the first case involves the National Marine Fisheries Service. And this is a group that is now going to small fishing vessels and saying, hey, listen, we have a lot of rules that enforce restrictions on methods and amounts of fishing. It costs us a lot of money to operate this program. We're going to charge you for this service. Now, wait a minute. Where has the National Marine Fisheries Agency got the power to, in effect, tax these small fishing boats? The answer is they don't have that power. There's nothing in the law that gives them that power. But in the past, some courts have given these agencies a lot of latitude, saying basically any reasonable interpretation of a congressional statute should be construed in your favor. But now this is before the court, and the court is, I think, quite likely to say, guess what? Yes, there is a certain degree of interpretive latitude, but it's not infinite. This particular power that you're exercising, which is a taxing power, doesn't even belong to the executive branch. It belongs to Congress. So that's the first case. The second case involves the Securities and Exchange Commission, which basically brought an action against a guy. Now, they're allowed to do that, but typically it goes to a court. Well, in this case, some of these administrative agencies have set up their own courts. So if they file an action against a bank, it's not decided in a normal court, a district court or a federal court. It's decided by administrative judges that are set up ultimately by the agency itself. And so the question becomes, is this even allowed? So one of the guys who is being charged for fraud under this by the Securities and Exchange Commission, he goes, hey, listen, it violates my rights to go to court, to have a jury trial, to have all the protections of due process if I'm being hauled up before an administrative court that is set up by the SEC itself. So again, this is going to go before the Supreme Court. And again, I think the Supreme Court is going to say, likely to say, no, sorry, you can't cancel out people's constitutional rights when they are charged in a criminal case by setting up your own courts. You have to allow the person to be tried in a normal, which is to say a district or a federal court. And the third case involves the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Let's remember this was set up right after 2008. It's given a lot of power. And in this case, Congress actually gave this group power and said, in effect, you're accountable to nobody. You are allowed to take as much money as you want from the Federal Reserve. Remember, this is a group that's supposedly monitoring the financial industry. And Congress basically said, listen, if you need money, just get it from the Federal Reserve. Well, again, the Constitution has an appropriations clause. And what does the appropriation clause say? It says basically Congress must provide appropriations for these executive branch agencies. And so again, there's a challenge to the idea that this group, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, can derive, say, listen, this is the amount of money we need, $17 billion. We're going to basically send a bill over to the Federal Reserve and collect our money. This is going to go before the Supreme Court. And I predict, and I also hope, that the Supreme Court says, no, this is a violation of the Appropriations Clause. Ultimately, it's Congress that makes the laws, and these agencies have taken an interpretive latitude. They've, in effect, gone too far. Mike Lindell has a passion to help you get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop with the pillows. He also created the Giza Dream bed sheets now. Debbie and I use these every day. They're awesome. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep, which is crucial for our overall health. Mike found the world's best cotton called Giza. It's ultra soft and breathable, but also extremely durable. And Mike's latest deal is the sale of the year. For limited time, you get 50% off the Giza Dream sheets, marking prices down as low as $29.98, depending on the size. Go to mypillow.com and a promo code Dinesh. There you'll find not just this great offer, but deep discounts on all the MyPillow products, the robes, the mattresses, the mattress topper, the MyPillow kitchen towel sets, and so much more. The number to call, 800-876-0227. Again, it's 800-876-0227. Or go to mypillow.com to get all these discounts. You need to use the promo code DINESH, Dinesh.